Hi, I'm Lori Beausoleil, and I wanted to talk more about real life home learning during the time of self-isolation with the coronavirus. I wanted to talk more in this fourth video in the series about the paradigm shift that I'm hoping is going to happen for all of us in this time to pause and reflect as we slow it all down and have time to reflect on the lives we were living before the coronavirus hit, before the self-isolation. And we notice the things in society that are less sustainable than we realize, the things that were moving so fast that we might never have really noticed where our priorities were in comparison to where we wanted them to be, how we were living our lives in comparison to the people that we wanted to be when we dreamt of that as children, where our dreams and our priorities are now, and where they might be able to go differently moving forward if we do take this time to really slow down and listen to ourselves and notice. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was my hope around the school system. As a teacher, I was so impressed by the people that were part of the families, the children, the teachers, everyone that was part of the system, and how we all tried to work so hard together to help children learn and to support families and to support each other, and as teachers to have fulfilling and careers that contributed to society in a meaningful way. And I just found over my career of 27 years how difficult it became for me to see the ways I wasn't meeting the needs of the children, and the ways it became impossible to, because I couldn't, in that environment, attach meaningfully and deeply to every child. And so they didn't necessarily feel safe with me or able to learn in the best way they could. And I couldn't possibly know them deeply or personally enough to really meet their needs or spend enough time with them to do that. So I'm hoping that going forward, without in any way making the school system wrong in any way, that we'd be able to look towards a way of doing things that enables us all to relax more and learn together more meaningfully and more organically, and prepare ourselves for a real life that could be different than the fast-paced, perhaps a little bit, in my opinion, too economically focused life that we've been living, more thinking of security than about living fully. So I wanted to read a story, if I can, please. It's called Animal School, that I think tells us a bit about what we could do differently just by reflecting on the characters involved. So it's a story by George Revis, written a long time ago, Animal School. Once upon a time, the animals decided they must do something heroic to meet the problems of a new world, so they organized a school. They'd adopted an activity curriculum consisting of running, climbing, swimming, and flying. To make it easier to administer the curriculum, all the animals took all the subjects. The duck was excellent in swimming, in fact, better than his instructor, but he made only passing grades in flying and was very poor in running. Since he was slow in running, he had to stay after school and also drop swimming in order to practice running. This was kept up until his webbed feet were badly worn, and he was only average in swimming. But average was acceptable in school, so nobody worried about that, except the duck. The rabbit started at the top of the class in running and had a nervous breakdown because of so much makeup work in swimming. The squirrel was excellent in climbing, until he developed frustration in the flying class, where his teacher made him start from the ground up instead of the treetop down. He also developed a Charlie horse from overexertion, and then got a C in climbing and D in running. The eagle was a problem child and was disciplined severely. In the climbing class, he beat all the others to the top of the tree, but insisted on using his own way to get there. At the end of the year, an abnormal eel that could swim exceedingly well and also run, climb, and fly a little had the highest average and was valedictorian. The prairie dogs stayed out of school and fought the tax levy because the administration would not add digging and borrowing to the curriculum. They apprenticed their children to a badger and later joined the groundhogs and gophers to start a successful private school. Does this fable have a moral? There's a note that says this story was written when George Reavis was the assistant superintendent of the Cincinnati public schools back in the 1940s. So I know that this time to pause and reflect could end up with us judging the way the systems are now and the people that are involved with them now. And I don't think any of that would be helpful or true. We've all been involved in these systems for so long that we haven't been able to see clearly the possibilities of what we could be doing differently. The people who are teaching in the schools right now give up almost all of their days. I know from experience, some sleepless nights, their weekends, planning and marking and thinking about the children. There's nothing more that people could do within the system, except the very, very few creative, remarkable people who are able to teach every child in a way that is fantastic, in a way that would be meaningful and attached to every child. I don't know how it's done. I've seen it done in a way that the children are so happy and fulfilled. But for the most part, I see teachers that are fulfilling the needs of many children in many wonderful ways and agonizing over the students that they can't reach or that don't learn in a school setting in the way that we hope they would. So this is our chance to stop putting the eagle in remedial running, to allow children to do everything they're interested in and capable of, but it's not possible in the paradigm that we've had until now. When I spoke earlier in video 3 about a student that I worked with who was 6 years old, he was unable to read and or the and other words that were used in school because he was fascinated really only for that at that time period with hockey. And so when I worked with him and started working with him on hockey, thinking that it might help him read and the if we could use the hockey words to get there, what I found was that he was able to read words like the complicated hockey names, the players' names that he was devoted to. He was able to read words like interference and penalty and intermission and all the other words that I at the time became more familiar with, although I'm not a hockey person. And I was fascinated. It didn't necessarily translate back into school, to be frank, in that some of the things they were doing in school were so nerve-wracking for him, so different for him from what he was interested in, that he didn't feel part of it. So I think it's an impossible situation that we put ourselves in. And in this video, not to pontificate or to force my philosophy on anyone else, I don't have answers as to exactly how it can be done, but I feel like the fact that we've been able to stop, that all the systems have been able to stop, give us a chance now to actually decide how we're going to move forward and to rethink some of the things that I think we've all been intuitively noticing for a while were at least partly broken. So my hope is going forward that the world that my grandchildren are growing up in will be different post-coronavirus, that we'll move towards a time when we realize we all experienced vulnerability during this time, and we realized what it's like to be truly not in control of any of the factors of our lives and of our community, so that going forward we can have more conversations where we can really listen to each other and really make the changes that are needed. So thank you for listening, and I hope you're all well and stay calm. Use this time to relax and reflect as much as you possibly can. I know there are a lot of stressful details and health concerns also, that it's not all rest and calm. So sending lots of love out to you, and my next video will be talking more about ideas in that paradigm shift for home learning for families. Take care.